real from within, and on solid ground inside yourself, are easy to phrases to use but may not be easy to recognize as part of someone's everyday experience. Sooner or later, the question arises, is the having a sense of self something else at which we poor fallible human beings can fail? The short answer is no. If being real from within or having solid ground inside are not part of your experience, you are certainly not doomed to lack sense of self and self-determination forever. A lack of inner security is developed in relationship with others, or as a result of lack of satisfactory relationship with others, especially during the crucial years of infancy and early childhood. This is one of the most basic concepts of psychoanalysis because those are the years when events are not analyzed and rationalized but hit the guts and stay there. However, this same configuration relationship with others also has the potential for unequal pleasure, growth, and learnings. And this includes discovering that all but the most severely damage us of way can be found toward that important sense of inner reality. This does not happen changing the past. That isn't possible. It happened through coming to understand more about individual dynamics of your own history. Through discovering then rediscovering how the past is affecting you as present and as crucially through a shift in attitude to what happened in the past which can like the street memory of childhood mealtime transform your present and your future for the better. Sometimes this shift in attitude happen gradually and naturally. Sometimes more concentrated efforts are needed with the support of therapists or committed friend or perhaps a fairly determined process of self-inquiry. What is needed as a starting point in a sense no matter how tentative that your own life is worth some attention and that your own life is worth discovering. At the heart of any changes in attitude is knowledge, not simply knowledge at a several level, but knowledge at the deep level with something strike you with a real force in the emotion and body as well as the mind because what you have been needing and seeking to know. The relief I felt, I was just enormous, said Benny to me, when I came to realize that I had gone way beyond the limit of my parents' experience and emotional understanding, and that I did not have to repeat the kind of them emotionally draining family life which they accept and even promote as normal. I, I do not feel angry with them, nor pity either. I just feel grateful that good luck and determination had driven me to find out what had been going and to refuse to accept that. Penny is a large-hearted woman in her late 60s who kept us, she said, we were taught to honor the commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself. Yet the real message was love thy neighbor and neglect thyself. Loving yourself amounted to selfishness, but now I know that the commandment should really be love thyself and then you can love thy neighbor. But it was taking most of my adult life to realize that. How trust develops. The nature of someone's relationship with others, whether their tone reflects compulsive neediness, involuntary isolation, or relatively satisfying flexibility. The person who can trust that she or he living her own life is able to interact with others without feeling either defensive or painful needy. The person who feels real insight can be alone without fearing that she or he will cease to exist, either in her own mind or in her mind of other people. She knows that when she is not with the people she loves, she can still help by them, and it's real in their thought. She knows too that when she alone, she is not alone with no one, but is alone with her own imagination, thoughts and feeling, experiences and emotions. In short, she is alone with her own selves. It's an impressive list of outcomes, but who has this feeling of living their own life or of reality within? And how did they come by it? Temperament plays a significant part. Some people are apparently settled from an early age. Others are more volatile and more vulnerable. Social circumstances also matter, and it will be impossible to overemphasize how vital is it to pay attention to the gentle arts of care, encouragement, and acceptance of older children and other adults as we more routinely do for infants. Capacity to be constantly alone flows with some satisfying experience of being with someone else. What's more, satisfying experiences of being with someone else fuel the continuing capacity to be alone without feeling adrift or lonely. It is exceptionally useful to understand this simply insight. Many people who find it hard to be alone blame or despite themselves or know themselves so little they do not realize that they can be alone but fill their lives with work, people, noise, groans, or drugs. Yet, lacking the capacity to be alone is not a moral crime, nor it is a life sentence. What is called for is retrieving some sense of what being with other people was like, what attachment felt like, especially during the years of infancy and early childhood, until those experiences of attachment are at least apparently understood. It is difficult to make sense of why a loneliness might seem straining or entrapping. When things are going well for infants, the mother stand in for the part of the infant which are hopelessly immature and comfort the infant through the stage of learning which teach the child that all the need is felt within and must be felt from without. With this comes a crucial learning that within and without are not the same things, just as self and other are not the same person. The next giant step of experience through trial and error that it's possible to be separate from the person to whom he or she is attached without losing his sense of attachment. In other words, the child can have his internal experience of the personal even in their absence. Just the caregiver goes on having experience of him even when he is not there. It is not difficult to see how acquiring this sense of confidence that you can have someone even in their absence. With color, your adult experience of intimacy and solitude, your feeling that you can or cannot get enough of someone, You're feeling that you are alone with or without your internal experience of the people who are important to you. A very young child can only believe in what is present. When the mother of a toddler goes out of the room and the child screams, he or she may be screaming as a way of saying, "Don't go." How maybe he may be screaming because he was no power to stop his mother going unless he screamed harder and longer, and and his mother cannot bear it. But and here's a rub: he may be screamed out of uncomprehending fear that the mother who is disappearing and disappearing forever, and worse yet, that she is taking with their share sense that he is someone without her presence, assuring him that he is someone. He may be no one. This treatment, total oblivion. The peekaboo games, common to children, allow a child to learn and express to master his fear that someone who has disappeared will not come back. And eventually, when things get reasonably well for the child, something else is also learned. Even in his mother's absence, he goes on existing. A child does not need to have suffered to experience of a genuinely disappearing parent to fear without his mother believes that he is someone. He will be no one. It can be demonstrated by children whose parents are almost constantly present and almost as a result constantly cheerful and devoted. For our own adult fear, we catch glimpses of that infantile panic that there will be no one, and that if there is no one, then I'm no one or nothing. My anxiety at the doors of the university cafeteria were rerun of the familiar panic. Even speculate that a child's fear of darkness may not be fear that the darkness hides of scary someone, but that is the darkness there is no one at all. Time of crisis showed this most violently. When she abandoned lover's scream, "I can live without him," she is screaming her fear that in the place of a sense of self, which is an internal experience, she has borrowed she has borrowed she has borrowed an identity from outside herself. This is not something she has chosen to do. Her belief is that the man or the relationship has given her identity. In removing himself, he is taking her identity self away. He is not there, and now she wonders, most frequently, who I am. Having reasonably secure sense of self does not free you entirely from wondering what will happen if you are suddenly alone, or are alone for too long, nor does it free you from needing other people. On the contrary, most of us long for feelings or sustaining connection. Problems arise not through waiting or having such connection, but from believing that without those connections, in the presence will no longer be alive, or that without those connections, we are not whole or worthy of life. The infant's inner or psychic development is just as phenomenal as his or her more obvious physical strides. Before the first year of life is over, the child who has begun life as fully dependent is already beginning to develop a capacity for concern for others that will eventually lead to empathy and intimacy. At only 18 months old, a child is capable of creating separate image of mother and child, enabling the child who is receiving good enough care to call up the image of his mother in her absence. So that if his mother is not away for too long, and if the care of child gets during her absence is loving, his mother can go on being his good mother even when she is not physically present. The marks that marks the beginning of the vital capacity to do someone even in their absence, a capacity which can transform to adult to be's experience of both intimacy. I am with you, I can have enough for you, and solitude. I am alone with my thoughts, my memories, and my experiences, to which who I am entitled. Yet even when all has not gone well in intimacy, a person is not condemned to loneliness or to unsatisfactory relationship. Life, faith, insight, and determination all provided opportunity to retrieve a sense of connection to yourself, to your own self, and to others. My writing this book and your reading it are testimony to that. Equally, things may go well in childhood, but nevertheless, through circumstances that undermine or emotionally stretch them too far, the adult can lose their sense of steady ground within all field tossed into terrifying chaos with little or no sense left of who I am.